first for a while, wasn't he?
Oh, maybe he's first.
I don't think he's first now. I think he was actually first at one point in all-time Planeswalker points.
I thought that recently Saito passed him or something.
Possible. You get a lot of Planeswalker points for,
participation,
battling, victories.
So Gerard, do we have his record? Is he X-2 right now? Or I thought he was X-2. My understanding is that he's 12-2 and needs to win. Probably needs to 3-0, given how tough of a
road this is. So David Sharfman, Pro Tour champion.
Absolutely.
Was he playing Heezy's deck when he won that Pro Tour?
So it was it originated from Herbert Hall's and got kind of worked on by some of the Florida guys like Pat Cox and whatnot. But yeah, it was a pure steel paladin in a format where everybody played White Weenie. Heezy brewed up a different White Weenie deck.
It's a different one.
Absolutely. Yeah, instead of a White Weenie deck based on artifacts, it was a White Weenie deck based on different artifacts.
Yeah.
So, Gerard Fabiano, on the other hand, most well known for his love of black, white, red aggro.
Really?
And Gerard Fabiano's Verdict.
I actually would think that the most famous thing about Gerard Fabiano is Humpus Wumpus. Oh, never mind, Cursed Scroll.
Yeah, but not everybody's 40. Like, Gerard's played in some tournaments in the last 2 decades, So Gerard's playing Orzhov with a light blue splash, and we're seeing some of that splash right now, the Dustmantle Guild Mage. Gerard's not really on a dedicated mill plan. He more just has the Guild Mage as a possible option going long,
It's just a beater in this spot, but over time, it has the ability to take over a game. So we see a key rune appearing for Gerard. So he's got all the colors. Okay, so we just got confirmation both Sharfman and Gerard Fabiano are X and 2.
Yeah, Sharfman, meanwhile, playing an interesting take on Simic. A little bit different of a blend of Simic than we normally see. He's got an incredible number of combat tricks, including 4 bursts of strength.
So he just played a Simic Flux Mage, it looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. Now the Florida guys love Simic Flux Mage an irrational amount.
Yeah.
As anybody who watched Ben Stark's draft at the PT can attest.
What is a rational amount of love for Simic Flux Mage?
That it's playable.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't know if I would Windmill Slam first pick it over 4 better Simic cards, but...
Would you?
No, I guess I wouldn't. But
so, the ability to untap a Simic Flux Mage is highly synergistic with Simic Flux Mage's ability, right?
It's kind of sweet. I mean, sometimes you're going to have the burst of strength interactions.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can move things all over the place.
Yeah, like you could put a counter on it, untap it, and then move that counter to something else. Or I guess you could just put the counter on something else.
Yeah, it's just... I'm trying to find reasons to love a Simic Flux Mage.
So Gerard's got Orzhov Keyrune, Dustmantle Guild Mage, and the Syndic Enforcer. What's interesting, I think, about Sharfman's deck choices here is he did not play both Agoraphobias. What do you make of that? Agoraphobia seems like too good of a removal spell to leave on the sideboard normally.
I can't really... I don't know. So it's a fast card. It can slow down a beatdown plan, right? And then because of its ability to return to your hand, you can, go upgrade it onto a more powerful creature if it comes to it. Maybe because his deck is full of combat tricks, he's worried about committing an Agoraphobia to a creature and then, just it dying in combat or something later, and him not having enough mana to play around that.
Alright, so we're seeing the first of many bursts of strengths. Gerard has no idea that Sharfman is so heavily loaded with bursts of strengths. Burst of Strength really is a fantastic card for the Simic decks as well.
Yeah, trying to find a reason to love a Flux Mage, tapping, untapping, all that. Well, or things like that can happen.
Yeah, Gerard is now making a grisly spectacle of it all. It's a play on words.
I got that one. You've been hanging out with LSV a lot, I see.
Yeah.
All day, every day.
Yeah, who do you think taught him how to pun? So we've got kind of a dominating position from Gerard. I mean, he's got all his mana, he's got a much stronger board presence. Sharfman's deck really does rely on being ahead, being ahead on tempo. What can he do to actually catch up? Does he have any creatures big enough to actually stabilize?
I'm looking. He's got Biovisionary, but only one. And maybe if he had four, it'd be sweet. He's got Simic Charm that can get big. It's interesting. He's got like Burning Tree Emissary, but I'm not sure he's really accelerating into Pit Fight. But his guys are not huge. Slaughterhorn, that's a good trick. Hakanura can get pretty big, can't it? Maybe not. It's not. They don't have a lot of guys that are making the other guys bigger. There's probably like an upper limit to these Simic evolutions.
So it looks like Gerard's deck actually features a kind of surprising amount of blue. In addition to the Dustmantle Guild Mage, he has Bane Alley Broker, Consuming Aberration, Dinrova Horror, and Mind Eye Drake. So
would you upgrade that to just saying Esper?
Yeah.
You would?
Yeah, I mean, he has, like, in terms of card, like, I mean, obviously for basic land, he's playing slightly less islands than the other colors, but in terms of card quality, I mean, blue is where it's at.
A lot of his stuff is
for him.
as good as blue. So, Gerard just confirming, I guess he's not going to lose to a Biovisionary.
And he's like, wait a minute. Is there something I'm missing here? Or is that a Hurloon Minotaur?
In Peace Sully's draft, there's just like a late Biovisionary that he had no cards in his pack, right? I'm like, I think you should just take it. And then Matthias says, why? And I'm like, because you need 4. You can't just own 1.
Classic rare drafts. I don't know. Peace Sully's not a man to rare draft cards that don't have a red border.
All right, so what do we got? That guy is big. So is that more burst of strength action?
It is.
The thing is, like, committing all these +1/+1 counters and making your guys big is kind of bad against a deck that's just got black point removals, right? Is that what we're seeing in Gerard's deck?
Nah, I mean, Gerard's got a couple removal spells, but, I mean, honestly, it's tough to get that many in this format. I mean, Gerard's got 3, so, like, we already saw 1, but...
And it was a semi-blowout, right?
Oh, absolutely, and each one is going to be a complete blowout. But every time he doesn't have the removal spell, Sharfman starts getting a little bit of an edge. Overall, though, I gotta think this is going to be a real tough matchup for Sharfman. In addition to that spot removal, which is so effective, Gerard just has a number of creatures that can be very difficult for a deck like Sharfman's to deal with. He doesn't really have any creature removal beyond combat, and so creatures like Consuming Aberration, which can be so big that you can't even fight them.
I wonder how big it is right now.
Right, or the Dustmantle Seer, which can make the Consuming Aberration abnormally large. I mean, this is going to be...
That's a sick little combo he's got there. Yeah.
Both ways. Like, you can also play your spells and make it so that your opponent's going to take damage for every card he mills, because when you play your spell, it mills him more. Or you can just mill him to make your aberration bigger.
Wow, this is making my head hurt already. Rules question away from the table.
Yeah,
I think Sharfman's like, hey, he has a Duskmantle Guildmage and a Consuming Aberration in play. What can I do about that? David, that's not a rules question.
We actually checked the Oracle. There is nothing you can do.
You can block.
No, I mean...
Not block.
Sharfman does have 2 pit fights. And
I don't think the pit fights are going to be helpful against the Consuming Aberration, Patrick. I think it's probably bigger than his Simic Flux Mage at this point.
He's got... Huh. So, if he puts enough bursts of strength counters, Ivy Lane Denizen counters, and Flux Mage counters on his Metropolis Sprite, and pumps the front end into next Tuesday, he can trade with the Aberration or the pit fight.
Unless, what if Gerard just activates his Guild Mage or something?
Well, I mean, do it when he's tapped out.
Okay. Got it.
But no, I think that there's... Like, I think that Sharfman could deal with the Consuming Aberration with... I don't even think it'd take him 5 cards to beat it.
Not even 5?
No. If he does it next turn.
So, Prism grinds only 1 card.
Okay, so that's done. There's no more doing...
No.
No, at this point, you're going to have to race.
Well, his Biovisionary's, what, a 4 power right now?
$10 draft number 103.
So at this point, is Sharfman just trying to see more information about Gerard's deck?
I don't know. I think maybe he's trying to figure out a way to win. Although, from our vantage point, it looks pretty tough to me. Like, that Consuming Aberration is just so big, and it's so synergistic with the other cards that Gerard's got.
Yeah. Yeah, this is... This is a brutalizing.
I think part of it is, you know, Gerard's a 3-color deck. He's got a blue splash, happened to draw one of his blue sources relatively early, and drew the cards in order that he needed in order to exploit these.
So this is interesting. Gerard does not attack with the Dustmantle Guildmage. Apparently not wanting to risk either a Shamble Shark or a third Burst of Strength. And he correctly identified Sharfman did in fact have the Shamble Shark. He didn't want to lose the Dustmantle Guildmage to combat because it's so powerful with his Consuming Aberration right now. So despite being way ahead, Gerard playing very tight. Not one to just kind of go through the motions.
So do you think that's a play that a lot of relatively top level players would have not made? I guess.
Well, no. I think the top level players would have, but I think it's definitely a veteran play. You know, it's not something that most players in the tournament would make.
I talked about this a fair number of players this weekend. I don't think I've ever activated a Cinder Elemental despite drafting it many times, because every time I ever have one, I send it to the red zone relatively early and it eats an Executioner swing.
No, that sounds like a personal problem.
Yeah?
Yeah, you could just activate it.
What is it, attack and Executioner swings?
I don't know, like look into their soul and read them. So the Shamble Shark finally getting that Dustmantle Guildmage with a pit fight. Problem at this point is that Sharfman's graveyard is what, up to like 8 cards, 7 cards?
It might be more than that. I
9?
bet some of them are stacked together. We don't see them all on camera.
Right, so are we at the spot where Consuming Aberration is just the Abyss?
The Abyss. I like that.
And already we're seeing Sharfman committing to the block with Simic Flux Mage, move a counter plan as he tries to race. He's putting up a valiant effort though.
I agree. I mean, the thing is that it's going to be tough to get through because there's those key runes sitting there as well.
Yeah.
It's not like they have no text.
No.
Those guys might get angry at some point.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it just doesn't stop.
GFabs with
Confessor.
How much do you pay here? Just one or
The max, however many cards Sharfman has in his hand.
Just max him?
Yeah. He's up 16-7. All you want to do is remove Sharfman's counterplay. Look at all of the information so you know every card in Sharfman's hand, which in this case I think is what, 1?
Fair
2?
enough. Yeah, I wasn't sure how many cards he had.
0? Maybe it's 0.
He's got at least 2 cards, it looks like.
Okay, yeah. If he's got 2, then I would just pay 2 life. Because all you want to do is remove any counterplay from Sharfman.
That's a pretty good trigger as well. Joy Pasco, I think, said it was 8 cards.
Yeah, that's difficult.
How high do you take this Consuming Aberration? Take it
I mean, I generally love to stick the guy next to me in Dimir.
Yeah? So you just don't take it?
I would take a lot of Boros cards over Consuming Aberration.
This is a trap, you think?
No, I don't know if it's a trap. Other people, I mean, Dimir can definitely work. I know that like last week for the P2, it definitely felt like Dimir was being overdrafted.
Overdrafted, really?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, as in, if ever there's more than one person at the table drafting it,
That's too many.
It's too many, and it happens a lot because there's 2 different Dimir decks. You know, one guy will think he's the mill guy, and one guy will think he's the cipher guy. And you can't really support 2 Dimir players.
Okay, what do we got?
Plus, there's a lot of first picks in Dimir.
So, Simic Charm.
So this is quite a little maneuver. I mean, Sharfman this is a very impressive little display.
He certainly hasn't given up.
Not at all. Although Gerard now putting down the extra land so that his Orzhov Keyrune can buy him a little bit more time.
Well, he doesn't really need the time, right? Well, actually, it's only 7-10 at this point.
Yeah.
So Simic Charm bouncing Gerard's Gigundo, let's call it a Lurgoyf, back to his hand. It's actually a horror, right?
It is.
Biovisionary, rumbling with an Orzhov Keyrune, Gerard actually netting life. Sharfman laying down, it looks like the last card in his hand.
Yeah, he had 2 cards. One was the Simic Charm, and the other got discarded to the Confessor. So the Aberration makes a return, triggering Extort.
So Sharfman moving around some counters. Drawing a forest.
Yeah, what else does he have that can actually even remove a blocker for a turn? I mean, we're well past Agoraphobia being able to have a significant impact on the Consuming Aberration.
He already predicted it. Uh-oh.
Alright.
There's a Kingpin's Pet, and Sharfman's like, oh, a flying creature, huh?
Well, the writing's on the wall.
Also has Extort, right? At that point, an Extort or 3.
So Sharfman doesn't really have a ton he can board in. Do you think that there's any chance that he does something crazy like brings in Spire Tracers just to be on a fast beatdown plan? Like maybe the Spire Tracer Last Thoughts deck?
Wait. Repeat the archetype that you...
No, you know, classic Spire Tracers Last Thoughts. It's like build a Shadow Mage. You've built Shadow Mages before. What would Johnny Finkel do? What would Johnny Magic do?
He would summon a Psychotog, is what he would do.
No, dude. He would draw some extra cards.
Alright, so... let's look here.
On the other side, Gerard Fabiano, I guess he's got to consider if Nav Squad Commando is something he wants.
How about Way of the Thief? Has he got... maybe get in with that?
So he's got one guild gate that he could use.
Yeah, but, you know, you're in...
It's tough against the
You could
spot
just
rule. He's
run-
already got so many combat
Oh, that's
tricks.
true. Just run the Boros Guild Gate.
I don't know. It's interesting how much this format is about building a powerful threat. Like in preparing for the last PT, Reed Duke used to draft all kinds of Horror of the Dim decks.
All kinds of horror.
Absolutely. Like he had one deck. So one of the Horror of the Dim archetypes he really liked was with the Gift of Orzhova.
I like that card a lot.
Absolutely. The interaction between Gift of Orzhova and the Horror of the Dim is quite good. He also would draft the the Way of the Thief Horror of the Dim deck.
So are you saying he just wanted to apply various kinds of enchant creature auras to his Horror of the Dim?
Oh, absolutely. He used he actually had the Holy Mantle Horror of the Dim deck.
Wait. Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Going deep into the the well.
That's not even that deep. The deep was when he would put the Alpha Authority on the Horror of the Dim. He didn't do that, but I'm sure it was in his range.
Reed Deck is an inhuman executor, right?
I mean, although I believe he did actually put the Underworld Plague, the Undercity Plague, on his Horror of the Dim, just continuing to get in there. All right, so Sharfman leading out with the Sea Sprite Beats.
Oh, what an insult!
And you know what? This is good though. This is wow. No green mana beforehand. Interesting. Is Sharfman
Get in for 2. Well, maybe there's reason there's no green mana.
Ouch. This is not a promising start for Sharfman in what is already a difficult matchup.
So Gerard tings for 1, passes the... Is that Purge the Profane in his
It
hand?
is.
How do you feel about Purge the Profane?
Feels good, man.
Yeah?
I like a little 2-for-1.
I like it.
One of the, I mean, you can't play against everybody, obviously, but one of the nice things about a card like Purge the Profane is that if you're dealing with somebody who has a lot of combat tricks, you can just strip them out of the person's hand, you know?
Which is actually what Gerard might be doing here, right?
Yeah.
Sharfman's full of Simic Charms and Bursts of Strength, etc.
Yep. And, I mean, it's just a fine card anyway. It's a little mediocre, but it has its uses. I don't know if I would do it if, you know, when Sharfman's at 7 cards.
Yeah.
I think just let Sharfman discard to hand size.
I actually, I don't like that play either. I was going to say the exact same thing. While it's true that Sharfman will definitely have to be discarding 2 cards. Oh, unless you're just going to beef up your
He just wants to put the clock down.
horrible
That's the match.
Urgoyf. Yeah.
Sharfman packs it in. He knows he has no outs to the Aberration anyway, so if he can't cast any spells, what's the point? Gerard Fabiano advancing to, I guess, 13-2, which sounds even better than it is. Like,
Wait.
13. No,
Did you hear what Patrick said? It sounds even better than it is.
no, 13-2 sounds like the type of thing where you're like, all right, when are they going to send me the giant check?
Yeah.
Let's we can go ahead and